Well, this is iPhone 14 Pro and it's time to unbox the new iPhone. Hey guys, I'm Rahul from TechReviewPro and you are watching iPhone 14 Pro unboxing and pro review with my first impressions. But before we unbox this, let's talk about the Pro lineup of this year's iPhones. In case you don't know, this year Apple launched iPhone 14 Pro models in 4 different colors: deep purple, gold, silver, and space black. And each of these are having 4 storage variants. Starting from 128 gigs of storage, you may go up to 1 TB. Now let's unbox this and see what's inside. Apart from that, you get some user manuals, stickers, and a USB-C to Lightning cable in the box. Yes, there is no charger, and it's the new common. When you take any iPhone in your hand for the first time, the first thing anyone notices is the design, while the other thing is the camera, because these two are the major concerns for any pro user. If you just asked why, then don't worry, I'll come to that in the later part of this video. But before that, let's talk about the design. Design-wise, the iPhone 14 Pro or iPhone 14 Pro Max looks almost identical to the iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max. The only difference I noticed is that the camera bump on the rear camera is a bit bigger, and there is a reason for that. Of course, this time the iPhone 14 Pro lineup is housing a 48 megapixels rear camera system, which is a huge leap forward from the 12 megapixels of the iPhone 13 Pro lineup. And talking about the cameras in the iPhone 14 Pro lineup, the most significant change you will notice is that the iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max a true depth front camera with autofocus mode, while the iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max have not the autofocus mode in the front camera. Another major change in my opinion, and something I'm super excited about, is the action mode, which simply stabilizes the footage when turned on while recording. It's something like OIS, also known as optical image stabilization. Whether it'll remove the need of a gimbal or not, I'm excited to test it out and I'll let you know. So make sure you subscribe to stay updated. Apart from that, there are minor changes like the 4K HDR in the cinematic mode and many more. But I'm not going to go into details about those technical aspects, as that would make this video a bit longer. And also, Apple has spent quite a good percentage of their entire keynote explaining the iPhone 14 Pro camera details. Also, the front-facing notch is now even smaller, and this time, Apple has turned it into a pill-shaped cutout. And there is a good reason for this as well. Ever since Apple introduced the notch for the first time with iPhone 10, Apple has been criticized a lot for the notch. For those who don't know, iPhone 10 was introduced with the revolutionary Face ID, and Apple needed to fit a good camera inside to perfectly scan the faces, so they could only find the way with a notch. Over the past few years, Apple has been trying to shrink the notch, and this time with iPhone 14 Pro models, I believe Apple has reached perfection with a perfect blend of hardware and software. This time, Apple turned its biggest limitation in the biggest advantage with the help of software, and they termed this Dynamic Island. So what is Dynamic Island? Apple calls it the simplest way to interact with the application. But in simpler words, when you minimize the app, it goes into a small island near the pill-shaped cutout area, and it goes in such a way that you don't even notice the notch. So kudos to Apple for making a perfect blend of software and hardware to turn their biggest criticism into the biggest talked feature of iPhone 14 Pro lineups. Yes, Dynamic Island is the iPhone 14 Pro model specific feature, and I have personally heard people craving for this feature alone. In fact, Dynamic Island has played an influential role in people's buying decisions. Personally, it's not something I'm a big fan of, but yes, people are buying iPhone 14 Pro models instead of iPhone 14 because of this cool feature, which is something I had never expected. What are your thoughts about Dynamic Island? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, now that we're done with the design and camera, let's talk about the display. With the iPhone 14 Pro Max, you get a 6.0 Super Retina Pro Motion XDR display, which is something the same as the iPhone 14 Pro. The only difference being the size, which is 6.1 inches on the iPhone 14 Pro. But when compared to iPhone 13 Pro lineups, the big change you will notice in iPhone 14 Pro models is the always on display. The always on display is something I love a lot on my Apple Watch, and now that Apple is bringing this to the iPhone as well, so I'm pretty excited about this. However, one big concern is that the always on display will also drain the iPhone battery. Even though Apple has taken a big leap forward in the battery of recent iPhones, this would be pretty interesting to see how the always on display affects the battery life. The display looks brighter and feels quite better. Also, the speaker has better sound quality. The new A16 Bionic chip is even faster and more efficient to do amazing tasks at a faster pace, such as the photonic engine or playing high GPU intensive games. And there are many finer improvements in tech specs and other features as well. I'm not going to bore you with that because the tech specs and chip performance keeps getting better on iPhones with every newer version. And this was the reason why I mentioned that the design and camera are the two major concerns for Pro users. They already know that Apple won't disappoint them with their chip performance on iPhone. So let's sum up this, and I would leave you with my first impression in a single sentence. It's a perfectly manufactured, pricey iPhone 14 Pro, something I had been waiting for years, but of course it comes with a costly pricing tag. And even though Apple hasn't increased the price in the US much, despite that in India, surprisingly its cost would be double the US price. So check your wallet carefully, and if you have the budget, go for iPhone 14 Pro models and skip iPhone 14. That's pretty much my advice. I hope you found this iPhone 14 Pro unboxing and first review video helpful. If yes, please hit the like button to let me know and subscribe for more such videos. And as always, I'm always ready to hear from you in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. I'm Rahul signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.